Write in Bernie Sanders. There, video done. First of all, yes, I went from long hair and a beard to just some stubble on my face. But I'm working on bringing the beard back, never fear. Maybe not the long hair, I guess we'll see. You know, I'm not a poli-sci major. I follow politics closer than many people, but not as closely as some. I get news from both Fox and the Daily Mail, along with many other sources. I voted for Trump in 2016 because I was still a conservative, but that changed. I've read a lot since then, I've talked to many people, and I'm a libertarian now. So I'm not going to tell you who you should vote for. I'm going to tell you who I'm voting for, and, if you want to stick around, why. I'm voting for Joe Jorgensen. The remainder of this video will be verbose, but there's not a quicker way to fully explain it. The classic question is, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? In order to examine that, let's look at history. Allow me to introduce you to me in 2016. Not only did I grow a mustache that made me look a lot older, but I also wore a Make America Great Again hat at high school, and I went to a Trump rally. I was a hardcore Trump supporter at first. I wasn't right whenever he declared he was running, but after the first couple of debates, I knew that I was a Trump supporter. I liked what he said, I liked the fact that he was blunt, and I thought that he could do some good for the country. I ended up supporting Cruz in the primary, but I said the whole time that if or when Trump becomes the nominee, I will wholeheartedly vote for him against Hillary Clinton. And I did. I did not like Gary Johnson, and I especially did not like Bill Weld. If Gary Johnson had had a different vice presidential pick, I probably would have voted for him. But I did not like Bill Weld. I'd heard that he was anti-gun, as well as other bad things about him politically. And I considered Darrell Castle, but ended up voting for Trump. The first moment I had when I started to regret that decision was actually only a few months after he was inaugurated. He ordered a missile strike in Syria, contrary to what he had been campaigning on. There has been no troop withdrawal in any part of the world, simply rearranging, and not just increased spending, but massive increases in spending, when in 2016 and 2015, he had said that he was going to get the United States out of debt. In his State of the Union speech in 2019, he said, "America was founded on liberty and independence, not on government, coercion, domination, or control. We were born free, and we will stay free. Tonight, we renew our resolve that America will never be a socialist nation." In his most recent State of the Union speech in 2020, I took some notes down because he said some things that I liked and some things that I did not like. For instance, some things that I liked. "So long as I am president, I will always protect your Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. I am not looking to kill hundreds of thousands of people in Afghanistan, many of them totally innocent. It is also not our function to serve other nations as law enforcement agencies." But in his same State of the Union address, he also said, "This is the first major trade deal in many years to earn the strong backing of America's labor unions. We will always protect your Medicare, and we will always protect your Social Security. I've been speaking to Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa and others in Congress in order to get something on drug pricing done and done quickly and properly. I'm asking Congress to provide an additional $50 billion to fund neonatal research for America's youngest patients. We will not quit until we have beaten the opioid epidemic once and for all. I call on Congress to pass the bipartisan Advancing Support for Families Act, extending family leave to mothers and fathers all across our nation. I'm also ensuring that every citizen can have access to high-speed internet, including and especially in rural America. A lot of this is stuff that I'm not necessarily against being done, but it's not the government's job to do it. I've been undecided for a long time, but since 2016, I made the decision that I had to make and got rid of the horrible caterpillar on my face. But also, I decided to stop supporting Trump. Then he did some things that I liked, and I decided I liked him again and was going to vote for him in 2020. Then I decided that I didn't. Then I decided that I did, and then I decided that I didn't. When I look at President Trump on the Republican side and the other guy on the Democrat side, what, you can't see him? He's right over here. Yeah, the Democrats didn't run anybody this year. Next. Okay, fine. Happy? When I look at the two candidates, I don't really like either side on its own. I have especially strong disagreements with their vice presidential choices, so the less said about that, the better. I will just say that one, Pence, is statist right, and the other, Harris, is, I guess, statist center, but leaning left. Trump has made some good and some bad decisions on foreign policy. One thing that I don't like is that we are still increasing drone production and use. No, not droids, drones. No, not that kind of drone, the other kind of drone. Yes. The president has talked about stopping the endless wars and that it's not prudent to continue to engage in them. And he has, to a good point, been diplomatic with Russia, with North Korea, and I was sure we were going to go to war with Iran, and we did not. However, drone strikes were unacceptably high under Obama, and they've gone up under Trump. Think about the quotes earlier from the State of the Union speech. Is President Trump pro-union? He also talks about Medicare and Social Security, meaning there's not going to be any changes to the current system to solve financial issues. Reagan didn't cut Social Security, but he did cut Medicare. Trump's not going to do either one. Also, when you talk about Senator Chuck Grassley to get something done on drug pricing and $50 million for neonatal research, these are things that I like, but they're not the government's job to handle them. I agree with Adam Carolla that these are attempts to level the playing field, which is impossible. Congress needs to clear the playing field following the same deregulation principles used for the economy. Trump talks about the opioid epidemic, which just shows he's another supporter of the failed war on drugs, which is not surprising, but it's worth noting. The Advancing Support for Families Act is government telling businesses what to do, which I'm not a fan of. And high-speed internet, including for rural America, that sounds good, but it's not the government's job. But to talk about the good, there's been a lot of deregulation of the economy, big tax cuts, some wise foreign policy decisions, a strong immigration stance, fighting for school choice, speaking on abortion and the value of life, including intending the March for Life, which no other president has done, respecting veterans in the military, and fighting DC corruption and media propaganda. He has also criticized the Federal Reserve, talked about reverting the federal tax code to its 1960s form, and buddied up with Senator Rand Paul. President Trump is like every human being, not 100% good or 100% bad. I have disagreed with the tariffs, and I've been disappointed and puzzled by talk of buying Greenland and building Space Force, his signing of so many executive orders, including one that banned bump stocks, a failure to withdraw from the Middle East, uselessly raising the age to purchase tobacco, befriending Lindsey Graham, and continuation of ridiculous spending. I've been on the sea of uncertainty when it comes to 2020 because even though I disagree with the president, please understand I'm not passionately anti-Trump. I don't hate Republicans. In fact, one of the people that was most influential on me was a Republican from Texas who talked kind of funny. Federal Reserve, war on drugs, foreign policy, endless wars, national debt, spending. Dr. Ron Paul, and a big supporter of his, by the way, Dr. Walter Block, red-pilled me. I became a libertarian and then an anarcho-capitalist of the Rothbardian variant, ANCAP for short. Please excuse the helicopter memes. It is unconscionable for me to vote for President Trump, to re-elect him. I can understand to an extent in 2016 Walter Block himself argued for it, but I cannot vote to re-elect him based on his record. That is most of the explanation. When it comes to Jo Jorgensen, we see a libertarian platform. She wants to turn America into one giant Switzerland, armed and neutral. That sounds almost exactly like Ron Paul. She talks about auditing the Fed with the intention of ending it, and it's not just a loose intention. I heard her say, I went to a rally of hers, that she will audit it, and then, even in the auditing process, she will get Ron Paul to do so, with the intention of ending the Federal Reserve. With Jo Jorgensen, monetary policy is important. Ending the Fed is the start, but we will go back to our money being backed by something, a bimetal system at the least, getting the government out of the production of currency, and for one thing, cutting taxes, but also cutting spending. She would completely defund Planned Parenthood, and she's solid on the Second Amendment. Shall not be infringed means shall not be infringed. Another compelling reason to vote for the third-party candidate, especially the Libertarian Party, is disillusionment with the two-party system. The choices continue to get worse and worse, and by voting for one of the two parties, things will continue to get worse. The people of this country deserve a real choice, and what they have now is not a real choice. What is your stance on abortion? Recognizing that abortion is a sensitive issue and that people can hold good faith views on all sides, I believe that government should be kept out of the matter, leaving the question to each person of their conscientious consideration. We were born free, and we will stay free. We affirm this today, that America will never be a socialist nation. COVID-19 has arrived to the U.S. What's your solution? Well, what we're going to do, listen, Josh, you gotta listen to me, okay? It's so sad. This is what the fake news does. They don't understand I'm helping the American people. I am sending them $1,200 per person to help them out. It is astonishing that the choices are somehow worse in 2020 than they were in 2016. Joe Biden has topped Hillary Clinton, which is an amazing feat. The other reason why I'm not voting for Trump is that I live in a solidly red state that does not need my vote, whereas the Libertarian Party of South Carolina does need my vote. You and I can be friends no matter how you vote, but I would encourage everyone, and especially libertarians, not to vote for the lesser of two evils, but to vote for a libertarian, someone who is better than the choice was in 2016. Go to her website and look her up. She wants to cut taxes and the failed war on drugs, stop the endless wars, and actually restore American prosperity and fix healthcare by letting the free market do its thing. Actually spread the deregulation not just to the economy, but to healthcare as well. We need these principles, they work, and you already know that if you are a libertarian. So vote for Jo Jorgensen and Spike Cohen.